Today is Monday, August 15th. We'll tell you what evidence the FBI's raid at Mar-a-Lago actually found and what could come next, and what a new report says about last-minute decisions when the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan. Plus, why monkeypox could be getting a new name, which is the first state to offer all kids free meals in schools, no matter how much money their families have. And signs of Seinfeld on the golf course. We'll explain. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. It could be one of the most serious allegations former President Trump has faced this far. A court released the search warrant from the FBI's raid at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate last week, with a list of everything the agents actually found. And that includes 11 sets of classified and top-secret documents, some that say they're meant to only be available in certain government facilities. The search warrant says the FBI is specifically looking into whether he broke the Espionage Act, among other laws. So Trump could be facing some serious legal trouble. But the former president is fighting back with his own explanations and accusations. For starters, former President Trump called the FBI corrupt and said there was no way of knowing if the classified material had been planted at Mar-a-Lago. Later, Trump said the FBI shouldn't have taken the documents since some are protected by attorney-client privilege and executive privilege, and he says he wants them back. Other people on Trump's team say the Justice Department is trying to take something innocent, Trump holding on to some keepsakes, and turning it into a scandal for political reasons. Sources have told news outlets that Trump's team did hand over documents, including some that were classified, in January and then again in June. Some reports also say, just 2 weeks before the search, one of the former president's lawyers signed a document saying all classified material had been removed from Mar-a-Lago. But something changed. Someone reportedly tipped off investigators that more sensitive documents were still there. As you can imagine, all this information has set off a political firestorm in the nation's capital. But one thing both Republicans and Democrats agree upon, they want the Justice Department to release even more information. As for what happens next, it's not exactly clear. Federal prosecutors haven't said if they're considering actually charging Trump or anyone else with a crime over these recovered documents. But if they do, that would be a huge deal, because in the past, people who have been convicted of the Espionage Act have spent several years in prison. To be continued. The U.S. House Speaker's trip to Taiwan may have caused a lot of controversy in Asia, but American lawmakers don't seem too worried about it. 5 more members of Congress arrived in Taiwan over the weekend, less than 2 weeks after Nancy Pelosi's visit. 4 Democrats and 1 Republican are meeting with Taiwanese officials and other leaders today. They say they'll encourage peace and stability in Taiwan, and also talk about global supply chains, climate change, and more. Of course, this is likely to upset China. Already after Pelosi's visit, China responded with live-fire military drills all around Taiwan. China also suspended climate talks with the U.S. and cut off some communication with the Pentagon. It's not clear how the Chinese government will respond this time, but one Chinese official said it will do something. Remember, Taiwan is a self-governed island, but China sees it as being under its control. And the Chinese government has repeatedly said it will retake that control by force if necessary. Stay tuned. Today marks exactly 1 year since the Taliban retook control in Afghanistan, the same Taliban American forces drove out 20 years earlier. And now the Biden administration is facing some new criticism about what happened next, the chaotic end to the U.S. mission. Republicans on the House Foreign Affairs Committee have been looking into exactly how the Americans left. And over the weekend, they give a few news outlets a look at their findings so far. They say the withdrawal put the lives of Americans and Afghans in grave danger, that President Biden ignored advice from his military commanders, made key decisions too late, and didn't prepare enough for the evacuation efforts. And they say when the U.S. military left, hundreds of Americans and thousands of Afghans who helped U.S. forces were left behind. The White House called the report partisan and said it's riddled with false claims. And many times over the past year, President Biden has defended his decision to end the American mission in Afghanistan, calling the war unwinnable, and blaming the Trump administration for making a deal with the Taliban that set the conditions for the withdrawal. For now, the Republicans behind the report say they need to investigate more, and they're demanding more cooperation from the White House and State Department. A famous author who has lived with a bounty on his head since the 80s was attacked in New York. Salman Rushdie was set to give a lecture on artistic freedom in New York, but someone rushed the stage and stabbed him 10 times. The stabbing was condemned by writers and politicians all around the world. For more than 3 decades, Rushdie has faced death threats because of a novel he wrote called The Satanic Verses. Some Muslims think in that book, Rushdie insulted the Prophet Muhammad. So Iran's supreme leader called on Muslims anywhere to kill the author in what's known as a fatwa. As of this morning, the Iranian government has not responded to this attack, but in the U.S., the nation's largest Muslim civil rights organization said no one has the right to physically attack someone over an objection to their speech. To be clear, we don't know if the stabbing actually had anything to do with the fatwa, since so far authorities have not released a motive. For now, the suspect is in custody, facing attempted murder charges. And Rushdie seems to be on the road to recovery. His son released a statement that said, quote, "Though his life-changing injuries are severe, his usual feisty and defiant sense of humor remains intact." California is now becoming the first state in the U.S. to offer all kids free meals, no matter how much money their families have. The new rule applies to students in either public schools or charter schools. There, kids can get breakfast, lunch, or both. California will pay for it with a mix of state and federal government money. The state lawmaker who led the effort called the meals essential, saying, quote, "If you're hungry, you cannot learn well." But some critics have pointed out that nothing is actually free. They say it costs too much in tax dollars for kids who don't really need the help. Either way, the food program is going into effect now. Maine has also approved a similar program that will take effect later this year. All right, we have more news coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. I was trying to reorganize my closet a bit better the other day, leaving out my summer clothes, but also thinking about how fall is right around the corner. And I was appreciating that Rothy's makes it easy to transition from summer to fall. They have so many colors of shoes you can wear from season to season without going out of style. So you never have to worry about getting brand new shoes each season and each year. In fact, they continue to be one of my go-tos all year long, and I'm here to tell you, Rothy's could be your new everyday shoe obsession as well. All of my Rothy's shoes are super comfortable, and they've been that way from the second I took them out of the box. I have a few different styles, and they all actually stay on my feet while I walk. They're also high quality. They've lasted me years at this point. So step up your shoes and accessories this summer and get ready to be asked, are those Rothy's? Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Well, it looks like monkeypox will be getting a new name. The World Health Organization is asking for the public's help to come up with what it should be called moving forward. Some researchers have called the current name discriminatory and stigmatizing. Already, the WHO got a group of global experts together to rename the 2 dominant variants of monkeypox. Instead of the Congo Basin and West African variants, they're reclassified as Clade 1 and Clade 2. The WHO is now offering an online portal for people to submit name ideas. A few major cities are facing their biggest polio threats in years. Polio virus has been discovered in the wastewater in London and more recently, New York City, where hundreds of people could be infected. In response, the UK decided to make London children under 10 eligible for a polio booster. And one senior official told CNN that the American CDC is thinking about doing the same thing. The virus is considered very contagious. People may spread it on accident, since most of the time people with polio don't know they have it, since not everyone gets symptoms. But people can die from it or become paralyzed. Still, right now, health experts are saying that if you are vaccinated against polio, which most Americans are, you don't need to worry, that the vaccine is highly effective. Facebook and Doordash are reportedly teaming up for deliveries. But it's not for food. It's to deliver items Facebook users are selling and buying online through Facebook Marketplace. Both companies confirmed to the Wall Street Journal they've been testing this service in several U.S. cities. Not every item can be delivered, though. The Journal says Doordash can deliver items that fit in a trunk and are no more than 15 miles away. Assuming items meet that criteria, the companies promise the drop-offs will be done within 48 hours. Still, Facebook and Doordash say this partnership is in its early stages, so for now, there aren't a lot of specifics like how many people will have access to the service and where. Meanwhile, Uber says it's ending its Uber Rewards program. The program has let customers rack up points on rides or food delivery to use later for discounts. Customers will still earn points through the end of next month, then they'll have until the end of October to use them. After that, they're gone. Seinfeld fans now have a rooting interest in this week's U.S. Amateur Golf Tournament. The U.S. Golf Association paired 3 players together who happen to share the same names of some of Seinfeld's most popular characters, Costanza, Newman, and Kramer. Of course, people on social media were quick to notice the trio, and they used it as a good excuse to make some Seinfeld references. Some asking if Stan the caddy will be there, others wondering if a golf ball will end up in a whale's blowhole, like it did in the show. But the Seinfeld pairing is just one of hundreds ready to take the course today, and they'll have some big shoes to fill, since in the past, winners of this amateur championship have included Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. The U.S. Amateur starts today and runs for the next week. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, a message from our sponsor, Indeed. Business success stories start with someone who had a great idea and found great people to help them. So if you're hoping to make headlines, you need to build a great team. You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. One thing that really stands out about Indeed is that it helps star applicants really shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding. I know from experience that the best way to see who might be a good fit for your team is by seeing their work in action. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Parents and teachers are getting sticker shock on basic school supplies this year. Even the essentials like pens, backpacks, and underwear are costing a lot more than last year. For example, Elmer's glue costs 30% more, and Scotch tape is up nearly 70%. The consumer data company Clover says people are spending more on back to school this year, even though they're buying fewer items. And the National Retail Federation backs that up, saying on average, families are expected to pay $168 more than they did on supplies in 2019 before the pandemic. That now, the grand total for a kid in grades K through 12 averages out to $864 per family. As you probably guessed, inflation is behind these price hikes. The experts say there are some things families can do, though, like look for your state's tax-free holiday, or if you can, hold off until Labor Day weekend when there are bound to be sales. College students also get discounts at certain stores for just showing their school IDs. Plus, anyone can look into certain stores' rewards programs. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.